Hello, Harmonites. Welcome to the first video of Harmonia. Well, at least the YouTube video, right? So I had started this channel in the midst of starting another project with another friend, my dear friend Johanna, with the show called The Breakdown. And what came about was that I have been having this idea of wanting to have a community. And there's plenty of communities out there. Don't get me wrong that this is the first kind of community. But I wanted to have a community where it brought in people who were also going through the awakening experience, but also the healers, the helpers out there who needed a way to connect to some of these people. But that can be really overwhelming sometimes, especially to somebody who is just starting out through this journey of what's my purpose? What does this life mean? What's happening? It's daunting. It can be really daunting sometimes. And there's so much information on the internet that once you start going through the rabbit hole, you can either get so lost in it or you can, jump bounds and meet the right people. But sometimes, the connections aren't the right connections either. And my goal was really to, within the past 5 years, the people that I have met, my experiences that I have experienced myself, is to bring that in the forefront. If it can help others, I will do it, because what's the whole point of it? Like if I'm keeping all of my growth to myself and people are saying, how are you doing it? How fair is that, that I can't give that out to another? Because I do believe in a balance of giving and receiving. So that's how this all came about. But this is really an experiment too. This is to show you how much it's going to evolve. If you're going to ask me what it's going to be as the end product, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. I'm just going to start by vlogging and talking about everyday life things and things that come up. Perfect example is this video. I mean, this morning, I knew I had to do a video, and I have had such things in my head stating that, well, it has to be this way. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a bunch of videos, and we're going to start off that way. And I did. I did a bunch of videos, and they sat there. And I said, why are they sitting there? And I'm like, oh, because I want to edit them. And then I thought, I don't want to edit them. I don't have time to edit that. That's not what I want to do. I just want to talk. I want to tell people the stories of what has been going on. And when I woke up this morning, I found that about 5 things that I did not want to do this week, I was doing instead of making this video. And the thing is when you become mindful, aware of your thoughts and things, it becomes less daunting and easier to snap out of it. And what I mean by snap out of it is sometimes you realize things later when you're not so mindful of things and you go, oh, man, I dilly-dallied and procrastinated and did all this other stuff because I didn't, want to do that. Why didn't I want to do that? And I didn't have those steps before as to breaking it down as to what was happening to me. Why is this a block? Is something, profound about this? And yeah, I can totally see why I got stuck in that trap this morning. And it is a trap. It is an absolute trap. So here I am making the first video. Yay, here I am. And one of the things that I know that I would love to see and to validate through the years, because I have been documenting my life in a way that I wouldn't say the average person does. I have kept a journal of my life since I was 7, mostly writing. I was off of writing my journal entries probably in my mid-20s. I stopped for a little bit and I was doing some other things. I wish I still had some of those years where I did document it. And then as of last year, when I switched over from journal entry to vlogging for myself. It was purely for myself. I decided I wanted to vlog. Anything that I wanted to connect to or talk to, it was like looking back at myself, and there was a reason for it. I was going through a point in my life where I had a severe autoimmune disorder through the years, and no one could give me any answer as to what was wrong with me. And it took me about 5 years to figure out that a lot of this was emotional. A lot of this was attachment. A lot of this has to do with energy, things that my body was breaking down on. And I had to go back and heal a lot of things. And I was willing to do that. And it's really vulnerable to be able to do that. And it's not something that, anyone who can do that or gets to that level, I have so much compassion for you, because it does seem like it's a lot of work. Or why would you want to bring up the past again? Or what does that have to do with how I'm feeling now? Well, it actually has a lot to do with how you feel right now. And that was my number one lesson on there. And to be able to watch some of my vlogs, and I wasn't being vain. Some people don't watch anything that, they record. But the reason I did it was, when I talked about a past story, I wanted to see how my face changed. I wanted to see how I was wearing my emotions. I wanted to see my own colors of things were coming up, because I've always seen colors within other people, and I couldn't understand or realize what that meant, or if, everyone else had that kind of vision. I don't know. Do people see differently than that? So these are some of the questions that came about. Now, when I started to do that, I started to also heal myself, because I could see where I was wearing my anxiety. I could see where my fears were. I could see when I felt sadness. And to be able to see and feel that, and to identify it in yourself, it becomes almost pinpoint clear to realize it in other people too. And it's something that, people who are intuitive have amazing gifts and can do this in so many different levels. And I'm fascinated with it. I'm fascinated with other people's gifts, but I'm also fascinated with mine that are growing. I'm utilizing it in way different ways than I ever imagined, but it's brought me such clarity and happiness to know that these tools are inside of me. I mean, that's what's so amazing. And what I love so much about some of my mentors, that have helped me through the years, is that none of them were to the level of, here's your book, learn it, and then just, we'll figure it out. We'll fix it, If you have a true healer, whether it is, and I'm not saying it has to be a therapist or it has to be somebody who's an energy healer. I'm just talking about somebody who's a genuine, authentic healer. They will go out of their way to share the gifts within you. It's so important for you to know, to share the gifts within you, because what happens is these healers are healing themselves too. I know that I'm healing myself. I had a hard time adjusting the fact that, what do I do with this? How do we heal in any level? And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and be a healer. You could be healing somebody by just picking up the phone and talking to them. You could be healing someone by just doing something of gratitude, or, paying it forward. There's all different variations of healing. So don't necessarily mean that like everybody, is out there doing it. But the people who are, doing this, and are making it a business, and that's a part of them, it's just very beautiful to see when they get excited for you, because that means, they're also validating themselves in their gifts. But, it's almost like, I almost want to say, like, for me, it's almost like a movie moment where you have that unsung hero that comes in and gives you this like wise amount of information, whether it be like Yoda or something, and they go away and you're like, well, I have the power, kind of thing. So it is really cool to see. And it's something that I love seeing it. But before I get off the complete subject of this first episode or whatever this is, I want to note too that it is also very exciting to be able to start this. And I mean just starting this, even though I have done videos and so forth, but really bring it to the forefront, because now, I'm not so afraid of making mistakes or how things are going to start. This is going to be kind of our an evolution, and the participation that takes place even with the audience is going to be awesome, because I'm really going to look out like, hey, have you ever felt this way, or what comes up? So I'm going to look for a lot of that participation. I did start a closed group for Harmonia called Harmoniafriends. That's going to be me more pulling things to come out, and that's so that I can come up with content or things or discussion points, and that's going to be on Facebook. And that's how I'm going to originally start this. I have people in mind that I also want to bring on here that have enlightened me in so many levels. And you see me post a lot about my show breakdown that I have done with Johanna. And again, it's another project I'm working on. It's completely separate, but it is another stepping stone of just letting go and see where things go. And that's exactly what I want to do. I just wanted to do something where I felt like I was authentic, I was myself, I can bring stuff up, I can chit chat and not be behind the camera anymore. Because for years, I was always behind the camera. And as a creative person, when you do the blueprinting, the production, the producing, you learn all the facets, right? And the creativity portion is like a separate asset, right? So you got a left and you got a right side. And it's real magic if you can kind of merge them together. I will always be a photographer. It was probably one of the toughest decisions that I made closing my photography business because, that is a passion that I absolutely adored. I felt like I was shaming myself by closing this business down. And the truth of the matter, it didn't bring me the joy that I had when I originally started that. I was feeling guilty for me, and I'm like, well, this is not what that's about, and I always said to myself, when photography started to feel like a job to me, and this was my old thinking, if it felt like a job, I didn't want to do it. Now, some people will say, oh, well, it shouldn't feel like a job. You should just, be creative and it should just come naturally and you don't feel like you're working. I don't know which way I believe in anymore. I just know that in order to be happy, it comes within. In order to live present, you got to be present. And sometimes you have to do things like, a 9-to-5 job. It doesn't mean that you have to hate it. Absolutely does not mean you have to hate it. But it doesn't mean you can't stop your other passions and stuff that you love to do. I don't see myself ever going to the point of stopping myself anymore, especially when it comes to a hobby. I'm sure I'm going to be stopping things, but, I'm not going to have that guilt anymore of stopping something like I didn't finish it. Because I am known with my family as the great initiator, where I start stuff and then I was like, yeah, I'm finished it. And it's not that it was too hard. I don't know. I lost the passion, or I had something else come up. And, you have to go through those levels of keep going, right? Because if you stop, that's when nothing happens, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who will preach on what blocks are. And, if you can just get through the fears, you can get through that. And I am 100% on board with that there are these fears that are, within us that stop us from doing things. Totally get that. But there's also the time where it also is to the point where it just hit the point of, well, I finished what I wanted to do in that and I'm ready to move on. And I think that there's sometimes a borderline or thin line of between those differences. And so that's something that I always felt, is that if I didn't finish something, it's not that I had all the time these fears that I didn't want to finish it. I just lost interest. And I was like, I don't really like I got what I had to do to get out. Like, that was my creative thing to get out. And that to me is what art is as an artist. I would love to hear what other artists think on that level. So anyway, this is my first video and I will have more content to come. There's a couple of polls that I am going to be doing this week for that group that's going to be coming up. There was a poll that I did a month ago. There will be another video shortly on that poll, and apologies. So stay tuned.